Aloha.
What's up, my bro?
How you be?
I'm doing good, man. It's always good to see you.
And it's always good to see you, too.
And talk to you.
Yes, and to talk to you, too. We had a fun conversation on the phone the other day, and it's a pleasure that you made it back here. Before we get into the interview itself, I know you got other friends in the islands, too. Did your friends from Maui come over for this one? Or?
No, and I meant to email them and didn't, and I feel bad, but I will send a text when we finish that I'm here on this side anyway, but just haven't had a chance to talk to him.
Airrion goes back a long way with the islands, and he's the thing about your tunes. I've been really digesting a lot of stylistics to warm up for this concert, and it made me think of certain early tunes that we're going to talk about. But what was it that first drove music into your life, where you said, "I'm going to be singing. I have a good voice. I've got a gift."
Well, I never thought I was a great singer, but I've always sung. From, as my mom said, 3-4 years old, I was always singing. As I got older, junior high school, I wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to be up on stage, and I didn't know any particular way of going about it, but whenever there was a talent show in the city or some type of function like that, I would try to make it and try to get on it, And then after graduating from junior high and going to high school, reality started setting in. I said, well, you better be a little more realistic. And after graduating, I went to school for computer programming, but I was singing on the side and had put together a group. The first group I put together was called the Monarchs. Myself, Russell Tompkins, a guy by the name of Anthony Scott, Jerome Gross, who's now a big doctor in Philly, and had that group together for about 3 months. And Jerome's father came and said, you cannot sing. I want you to become a doctor, and made him get out of the group. And so we were left with the bass and Russell. So we were just doing local talent shows, not getting paid for working or anything like that. And then that fell apart, but me and Russell remained friends. So we talked about putting another group together, and we put another group together. And then when we graduated from high school, the group that we started, again, the name the Monarchs, either went to college or went to the military. So we were left with 3 members, and our English teacher at that time, Beverly Hamilton, she said, well, why don't you get together with the percussions, because they have 2 members left and a guitar player and bass player. So we had a drummer, and we put the 2 together, and that's how the Stylistics started. And came up with the name the Stylistics.
Who came up with the name Stylistics?
At that time, our guitar player, Robert Douglas.
Sound-wise, Monarchs, was it already a soul-based project? What was the musical timbre? What was the vibe like?
You know what, as the Monarchs, we were a 5-member group with a first tenor and a bass. So during that era, any 5-member group would have to pattern itself after the Temptations, and that's what we did. Again, we didn't have any recordings out, but whenever we did a show or a talent show, or that time we were working in clubs, we would have mostly Temptation stuff in our show. Yeah.
And what was were there artists in particular that you were looking at that were sort of carving a path, and you were saying, we're going to be similar to that band? Was there certain people besides the Temps that were role models towards your sound?
Oh, yeah. Well, naturally, we heard a lot of the Motown stuff. And Gladys Knight and the Pips was the ultimate group to me. Even when I say Gladys' name or the Pips, I just smile, because they had a way of performing, man, that, with choreography and actually with Gladys' voice, it was just an awesome show. Every show that I've ever seen, and at that time I was 15 and 16 and running to the shows and seeing the Motown Review, seeing naturally the Temptations, Supremes, but Gladys Knight and the Pips was the group that I just was memorized by their choreography and everything.
Once you got into being a successful cat yourself, did you ever get to beam that big smile at Gladys and let her see how much she means to you?
I sure did. We were on the show. We opened for Gladys Knight and the Pips. And naturally, we got closer to the background singers, her brother, Bubba, and I said, Bubba, I've been wowed by Gladys, all my life, man. He said, well, she's in the dressing room, go ahead and say something to her. And I went in the dressing room, I knocked on the door. She said, come in. I said, hi, Gladys, I'm Airrion with the Stylistics. She said, how are you? And she just continued playing solitaire. Never turned around and looked at me. And I said, okay, I'll see you later. And I left out of the dressing room and never really had a rapport or anything with her. But a few years ago, I was in Vegas and she was performing there. And I had somebody pull a couple of strings and got tickets to the show. And she announced, Airrion Love from the Stylistics is here, And I stood up and waved. She waved at me. The audience was applauding. But that's the only personal conversation that we've had.
So she didn't get to see the big smile?
She never saw the big smile.
She was too in the game.
She'd have been my wife.
Oh, you would have snatched her right.
One or the other. But I was madly in love with Gladys. And yes, I said it after 30-something years.
Got it off your chest.
Got it off my chest. Yeah.
That's cool to, because when you think of some of the people that you're on the bill with, because I was talking with Dee Dee from the Crystals and Beverly from the Shirelles, they were, when you were a kid, how did that fit into what you looked at as music?
Wow. It's funny listening to them sound check, and I said, oh yeah, I remember that song. And then one of the guys said, oh, I don't remember. And I said, well, you too young to remember those songs. But I remember those songs. They were songs that I heard and listened to on the radio. I mean, I was just a child myself, but yeah, that was some good stuff.
And you've never done a bill with people. Is it in some ways like a genre crosser? How would you look at it in terms of genres and how it would relate to the Stylistics?
Wow. I was surprised, actually, that it would be a show. We would be on a show like this because, I mean, it's a little before our time, I don't know what it is, like 60s, 60s stuff, yeah. So our stuff is the 70s. So if I was 18 when our stuff came out, when their stuff came out, I was 8. So yeah, there's a difference.
Another thing about what you said?
No, I was just laughing. Thinking of other pictures came to mind.
Other young time pictures?
Yeah.
The thing about it, I ask you that because when you think of some of the music, and there's a certain stylistic song I was going to ask about, and I ask by comparison, when you think of those bands, the Shirelles, the Crystals, it's almost like a naive innocence that went along with the music of that era. Then you flash forward, and you have had some very happy and upbeat songs too, but heavy, which it's heavy falling out. It's this great, it's a whole different kind of vibration. It's a different sort of energy. Talk about the personal place that something like that would have come from, if you will.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't the one that wrote any of those songs. The Heavy album, all that stuff was done after Tom Bell, and our record company's president and vice president, Hugo and Luigi, they started producing us. And when we left Tommy, they bought another spectrum or another flavor to our sound that, in all honesty, it was
not your own flavor?
No, it was a little bad and a little good. After Tommy did the Stylistics Round 2 and Rock and Roll Baby, I mean, that was 3 successful albums. So when Hugo and Luigi came on, I think the first album we did with them was I Can't Give You Anything, that they put a lot of money to it, because I think we did a video for that on a rooftop in New York City somewhere. And they spent a lot of money to push that album because it was coming on the tails of Tom Bell. that album we lost our black audience stateside. I mean, it became it was a gold album for us, but we kind of lost that whole market. And you know, some people say we were selling out. We were trying to go strictly pop, losing our R&B roots. But in return, I think that album opened up doors for us in England and Japan, because when we went to England on the cusp of some of those songs that Hugo and Luigi did, and then England went back to the Tom Bell era and started bringing forward that music, you know. So in the long run, England became a large market for us, and so did Japan. But it was on the tail of the I Can't Give You Anything album that made England and Japan so successful.
I dig it. So what you're saying is it while it opened up a lot of doors elsewhere, it also was very difficult for the original audience to digest. And so some of those fans migrated away, but in the long haul, it did bring in a lot of international fans.
Exactly. Even though you said it a little better.
Well, I was trying to sum it up for you.
You know, that's your expertise as a radio personality, you know. But yes, you were able to take that long-ass conversation that I had, 5 minutes, and condensed it into 1 minute. That was pretty good.
Thank you, my brother. Well, I was trying to think of the departure zone, really, because there is a departure, and so it's a production team that influenced the departure. Because all these years later, when you look at your sound, it changed a whole bunch of times through the years. But now, when everyone's getting to know you, you're bringing back like the best of throughout the year, so it all comes together rather than be separated by era.
Exactly. Right now, when people want to hear and again, it depends on the audience too. Like here in Hawaii, we know they're kind of like
they're coming for you now.
Yeah. Yep.
They're coming to get it.
Sounds of home. So I can go to sleep to music.
Yeah, it's like the music in Philly. It's like Betty Bye music. It's a little early though. He's got to play. But
like different places in the world, we gear the show differently, you know. Stateside, again, depending on where we're performing, if it's a black show, we may gear it to more songs that were popular with the black audience. If it's England, then the songs that only will work in England, that if we did it in the States, we would die a horrible death. And we just know how to work it. Here in Hawaii, it's kind of geared like a black show with one or two white songs, as I'll call them, in the show. Like I Can't Give You Anything is popular here.
That's a white song.
Yeah, Sing Baby Sing was popular. Like in Japan, we couldn't do it in the States. Couldn't do it in the States at all. You know?
You know, when you were talking, as we go to wrap it up with you, you were saying you weren't sure if you had brought the orchestra to Hawaii. And I have this loyal listener, Steve, the mystery emailer. I don't know him, but he emails me like historic rock facts and all kinds of history. I get copies of original ads, posters, reviews. This guy is like, he's valuable. Wow. Yeah, very valuable. So he wanted me to point out to you, it was January of '76, right here at the historic Blaisdell Arena. You did come with an orchestra, a 20-piece orchestra that included strings.
Right. We were talking about that. Yeah. That's right. But I didn't know the date. And so when was that again?
That was in January of 1976. It was here at the arena, 20-piece orchestra, and it included strings.
Wow, I was 26.
You've been here so many times.
No, I know.
Is it hard to tell one thing from the other? I mean, after so many visits to Hawaii, so many ways of connecting.
You know what? It's not hard to connect, but it's just far and few between. You know, now we're talking about a 44-year span. So if I say I was here maybe 10 times, to somebody else, they may say, "Oh wow, that's a lot of times that you've been to Hawaii." But 10 times within 44 years, that's not a lot.
Right.
Yeah, so I would like to come more. I'm gonna move in.
We're gonna make some extra room for Airrion. We will definitely do it for my man. As we wrap it up, a final note with you. I know you're a big fishing guy. You're a big boating guy. When did that passion come into your life? And is there any way maybe we get you to come out here with your boat sometime?
Wow. First of all, I don't think my boat would make it.
How big of a boat is it?
It's a 32-foot Maxim, and my father turned me on to fishing as a child. I mean, we would just do lake and river stuff, and then as I got a little older, he took me on my first deep sea fishing boat. I might have been 10, 11. Never got seasick, but always loved the water, always loved fishing. And in fact, the Saturday before we came to Hawaii, I went on a friend's boat, and he has a 38-foot with the outriggers and everything. So we went out tuna fishing. Didn't catch anything, but we went like 40 miles off coast. But it was absolutely beautiful out there. And when I go back home Sunday, Monday, 2 o'clock, I'll be on my boat.
You spend a lot of time there just to put you at ease?
Yeah. If I'm just around water, I can sit in the bathtub and
you're at ease in the tub.
At ease.
That's a human instinct, I think. Goes right back to birth, practically.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, I could talk to you forever, so I'll save some for the next times. And love you, my brother. I'm so grateful that you always spend the time with me.
Always come up with something new and fresh, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Dave. You know that.
You're a good man. Thanks, Airrion.